everyone. On today's show, we're discussing how to manage projects, both in your life or in big businesses. And we're going to discuss how it revolves around a bottle of water and a lemon. Managing, what to go into projects and managing teams as well and themselves. So we have Steve with his 38 years of business experience and an amazing insight into how he manages projects from different levels, individually through to multi-billion-dollar corporations. So really excited to have you on the show today, Steve. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thanks again for the great introduction. And I'm really looking forward, I think, to all your probing questions. So let's start.
Sure, Steve. So I think a lot of the viewers here might get bogged down in details. When they start a project, whether that's personal or in business, they get bogged down in the details and spend too long on certain tasks. Maybe they're perfectionists. Other people, they might have these grand ideas, but they don't actually execute. Okay, you seem to have found and struck the right balance. Okay, so how did you come to find that balance?
Okay, Matt. Well, great question. And, it makes me think a bit because it's something that's certainly in my experience in managing companies, people, coaching, and so forth. It's quite a common problem for people where they get caught up in the details. So what I've always been able to do is I've always been able to keep a very, very high level view on things and only dive into things as deep as I know that I'm able to do without losing track of the big picture. Because it's when we lose track of the big picture that we get into trouble. And this is true no matter where it is in life. So it's really about focusing on the big picture always and knowing your limitations as a person, mental capacity, things like this. And I can explain this in more detail, but that's more or less the idea.
Steve, so you said you focus on the big picture and kind of keep referring back to that. If you associate into a project that you might have worked on recently and just kind of go there in your mind as if you were thinking about that project and you're working on it right now. So see what you see, hear what you hear, and feel what you feel. And what is that like right now, thinking about that project? What is it like for you?
Okay, Matt. Well, I've been pretty successful in life for this reason specifically. I mean, the ability to be able to see the big picture always and to not get too deep into all the details. Also I became a master of delegation a long time ago, which delegation can be subcontracting jobs. It can be delegating to your employees or whatever. But bottom line is my focus has always been do what I am good at only, okay, and delegate and or subcontract the rest. And using this approach allows me to always focus on the strategy, the big picture, and not all these details. An example is my mind, I'm not that smart actually, okay, I'm just experienced. But my mind is like a 1 liter bottle of water. And so I've got a 1 liter bottle of water, and in front of me, I've got 10 small bottles, maybe 100 milliliter bottles. And I have a choice, okay? The project is this bottle of water, and I have a choice to say, how much do I want to learn or dive into the details of all the things I have to get done to get this project done? And, what I relate this to using a metaphorical approach is going to be, I can take this bottle and I can pour it all in one bottle and become an expert in one area and not know anything about the other 10 things or not spend any time in the other 10 things. Or I can take this bottle and I can try to put about 10%, let's say, in each of the 10 things that are in front of me. And in doing this, what it allows me to do is say, I know my capacity, my mental capacity, my learning capacity, my managerial capacity. Now, I want to learn as much as I can about everything, but not too much. And so it's a question of how do you share, or divvy out this water into all the different bottles. And to me, that's the approach I've always been able to use, to just see this picture in my mind and know here's all the things that have to get done to do that. I know I can't do them all myself, but I can do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and then delegation.
Hey, Steve. I mean, one thing that I found out about you recently is, you've kind of built a skill set of internet marketing. Not relatively quickly, like really quickly by anyone's standards. To go from zero to thousands of views and subscribers in literally, a very few months. I'm fascinated by that, and I guess I really wanted to know, what went through your mind in order to even believe that you could achieve that. Like, how did that come about as a project?
Yeah, Matt, that's a really good example, and it's actually a recent example. And it's funny because if you had asked me how to spell internet marketing last year, I wouldn't have been able to spell it, literally, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything. I didn't have social media accounts. But I looked at life and I'm like, okay, I always try to take my biggest weakness and I try to turn it into my biggest strength, and that's been one of my successes. And with this was certainly my biggest weakness before, and now it's certainly a big success for me. But again, it was the same exact process that I've been talking about, because what I did was I said, I don't know how this whole thing goes together, but I'm going to figure it out. And I didn't want to focus just on, how does ClickFunnels work, or how does Facebook pixels work on a landing page or whatever. I wanted to understand the real big picture, which I think is really lacking out there in internet marketing. I think a lot of people are very good at, hey, I can do a website, I can do a ClickFunnels, I can do social media for Facebook, but very few people have the big picture of how it all ties together. So what I did was I started learning. I learned from a lot of people, a lot of resources online, books, you name it. And I did this just in a matter of a few months. I also, to launch my business, I needed to write a book. I never wrote a book before. It was the same thing. I said, okay, well, what do I have to do? Well, I have to write the book, but I can get an editor to edit it. I can get a book guy to make the book. I can get a translator to translate it. And so I became the guy that I've always been, and that is a master of delegation. And so when I put my business together, I had a lot of things. I was working 16 hours a day. I remember I started writing my book on August 1st, okay? And I had a deadline myself, okay, that I knew when I needed to get it done. I had my great translator here, Kun Mellon. She was going to translate it for me. She said, Steve, I need 4 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, that means I got to write the book in 2 weeks, So anyways, I had deadlines I imposed on myself, but I kept a good state the whole time. I delegated things everywhere. I had a guy in Egypt working on my spreadsheet for my Wheel of Life. I had a guy in Spain through Upwork doing my ebook. I had a guy in Bulgaria doing my Facebook advertisement layouts. I had a guy in India doing my animation for my logo. I had a girl from Argentina doing my graphics. I got a guy from the Netherlands doing all my technical background work. I've got Kun Mellon, in Bangkok doing the translation. So it was a really, really good example where I could have easily failed many times. But because I always, always, always focused on the big picture and the outcome was to launch a business the middle of September. Okay, from zero, August 1st till the middle of September, write a book, create an entire funnel, do all the social network media platforms, everything, understand everything and launch it. That was my outcome. And then I said, in my mind, I've got 10 bottles, and these bottles are how good do I want to be at Facebook and Pixels, and how good do I want to be at, Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. And I knew my limitations, but I wanted to know enough about everything so I could keep the whole big picture put together. And that's how I was able to succeed in this, is by chunking it, by delegating it, by focusing always on the big picture.
I'm just thinking about that water bottle metaphor, Steve, and all of the cups from around the world that you filled in that project. people working on your spreadsheets in Egypt, and people in India and Thailand. And I mean, it just shows just the importance of specializing in what you're good at. And in order to get stuff done, you know, working with a team that specializes in what they're good at is essential. Following on from that, you know, you set yourself pretty ambitious deadlines with your book, and, you know, getting this business up and running. Now, we all often sometimes slip behind on deadlines, right? How did you respond to that? Whenever you were behind or your team was behind on a deadline, how do you get back on track? You know, how do you respond to that situation? What happens in your mind?
Well, it's a good question, Matt. And, you know, life is about adapting. And this is all I can say is, you know, no matter what, not everything goes perfect. But the most successful people are the most adaptable people. And as long as you're flexible and adaptable, I believe that you can recover from anything. So again, always looking at the big picture, recognizing as far in advance as I can that I wasn't going to achieve something. Like, for example, my book. I mean, you know, I was like, okay, wrote the book, but I had it in translation. But I also, in parallel, to try to get everything done, I had the guy in Spain working on and did the complete EPUB layout of the book, had it all done. And then it was just waiting translation. But I knew if I waited for all the translation, then it wasn't going to get done fast enough. So I piecemealed it to this guy, one chapter at a time. So he did the layouts for each chapter at a time, so that when I got the final, like, couple of chapters, it was just like 1 or 2 days and he was done. And so I think it's always saying, how can I squeeze the most out of this lemon? I mean, it's about adapting. It's about being fluid.
Okay, Steve, I think we've got time for one quick question, if I may. What's your next big project?
Well, Matt, it's taking my next biggest weakness and turning it into my next biggest strength, okay? And, you know, it was funny because about 3 weeks ago, I had no clue even how to make a YouTube video. I didn't know that it required a thumbnail and, you know, logo animation and all these things, but now I know that, okay? And so, you know, I can build a business. I can coach people. I've been doing that for many, many years now. I know how to manage businesses. But, you know, what's really exciting, and I'm kind of old to start this, but I'm going to start it anyways, and that is I want to become a very powerful force in the world for YouTube, okay? And with that, my outcome is I want 1 million followers by the end of next year. And I will create a plan in my head and execute to that plan. And this is the start of that. Now, I'm certainly not, you know, slick back hair, pretty YouTube guy, okay? I've got, you know, a Apple PC here, Apple computer here, and you know, but I speak from the heart, okay? And what I want to do is I want to speak from the heart. I want to add value to as many people's lives in the world as I can. I want people to recognize that. I want people to give me feedback. What can I help them with? What can I talk about? But yeah, it's my next big project is YouTube. I mean, I want to be, you know, top. I mean, I want to be 1 million followers or more. And I want to help my friends that help me get there. That's even more important because everybody deserves, you know, help. I mean, and, you know, I can't get there alone. I learn from a lot of people, and I want to help everybody that's helped me get this far and help next year. So great news for you, Matt, and for Mastermind Melon, and for my really good friend, Paul Ram, who has a great internet marketing business, world-class, probably the best guy I've ever met in my life in internet marketing. Really knows his stuff, and you know, you can check out his website. You can contact me. I'll give you his information. But yeah, what a great team, and let's charge ahead to be leaders in YouTube. Okay, guys.
Well, I mean, so many tips in that today's show, and you know, just as a summary, some of the things I picked out, looking at projects and getting a big picture view, and just thinking about it in terms of pouring a bottle of water into different glasses, and each glass represents, you know, different specialisms which you can delegate, and you know, delegation, getting the right team is absolutely key to meeting the deadlines that you need. You also talked about adaptability. And, when you're running behind on deadlines, well, things can change, things can crop up, but being adaptable and, squeezing the most out of the lemon and the resources that you have is really key. And I think one final point that you touched on was really about purpose. This is quite an ambitious goal of getting 1 million YouTube as following you, Steve. But I have no doubt you're going to do it because you have these principles in place. And one of the things I really recognize is you have a sense of purpose of helping others, of helping me, of helping Mastermind Melon, Paul, and all of your followers. And so, with that, I think everyone should think about what their purpose is in the project at the higher level that's going to drive you to get these ambitious results achieved. So thank you, Steve.
Well, thanks, Matt. Once again, Master NLP Coach Matt Garrow. All right, everybody, thank you so much for today. And, it's been a pleasure working with such a great team with NLP Coach Matt and Mastermind Melon. I'm so proud to work with people like this. And, we really work hard on producing these types of videos and things, and we really appreciate you guys subscribing. Ring the bell so that, next time our video comes up, you get automatically notified. Press like, share it with your friends. And also, please note down below, we've got links for myself, for my website. I got a free ebook, Learn How Your Mind Works and How to Change Your Life. And then I'll just let Matt add his in real quickly and Kun Melon.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Steve. And, it was a pleasure to interview you today. In terms of, if you wanted to explore your own mind with probing questions, if you have a challenge or if you want to kind of uncover some of the strengths you have in life, then feel free to reach out to me as well. The link should be below and you can connect with me on Facebook. Thanks, Steve.